Good day everyone, so this is a bit of a fun video. We're going to explore the new artifact domain, and as you can see, Kokomi is already just flying through it with a bit of a Farina bubble effect. It's pretty cool. I'll be the first to admit that I thought this domain was just so gorgeous. Just look at the landscaping and the kind of vibes that they give you. But of course, since we are going to go out of bounds with our little Kokomi, we're going to peel, behind the layers and see what the developers have hidden for us. And as you can see, there's already a couple of questionable things out of bounds, so we'll explore it in today's video. But generally how the maps work is that there's a giant rectangle around the map, and for different maps it's different sizes. And if we go beyond that, we're going to trigger a death barrier, which will it functions very similarly to when you drown in the game, and then you're just teleported back. So we do not want to hit the death barrier, but later on I'll show you how we can temporarily bypass it by disconnecting the internet, and then we'll just see what's underneath the map, although there's a bit of a spoiler, not much. Okay, so what is Kokomi doing right now? Well, as you can see, there are lots of little mini houses around the map, so what we're going to do with Kokomi is fly to some of these, and then you'll see interesting things. For instance, just how the lighting works. So Genshin Impact, and I think this is the first notable thing to note, is that Genshin Impact doesn't have a sun with the sun shining down on buildings. In fact, a lot of the lighting is baked into the object itself, which this kind of house really kind of gives you that perspective of. So if you stand, oh yeah, and then there's some really random unfinished landscape in the background. Don't ask me what the devs did there, but in any case, so when you stand there at the bottom circle, like where you farm for artifacts and so on, the effect of the lighting up close on the objects don't make sense, but from afar it gives you a very beautiful and very nice aesthetic feel. And I think that's what I always give Genshin compliments for, because being able to draw these perspectives for someone that's way down there and getting it right, it's just it obviously takes a bit of skill and art, but obviously up close all of it really doesn't matter. And I think this is the key thing that characterizes Genshin's cel-shaded animations and such. It gives you this beautiful picturesque anime feel when the viewer image is right, and I think that's what makes the overworld such a work of art, because you can go into the overworld wherever you want, and then what you'll find is that you can always take a picture and it looks like you're in some sort of anime, which is really a testament to how well Genshin can do things. But of course, when they push the boundaries and give you a beautiful background type of effect, then the background, or a lot of the, what do you call it, imagery that they create kind of falls apart when you get up close, which is what we're doing, and hence why they typically don't allow players to go out of bounds as we are doing right now. But in any case, I've just sped up the background footage here a bit, so I'm not going to waste your time by having you watch everything over and over. But if you're interested to watch this in slow-mo, just basically mute my voice and just slow down the YouTube video by, I think, about a third, and you should be fine. In any case, I'm just flying here with Chaska to give you a bit of a look and feel for how the rest of the environment looks. There is a house on top of this big building, but I noticed that we're eerily close to the boundary, so unfortunately this is one of those areas that, yeah, we just are hit by the teleport barrier, so we can't get to that house, which is a bit sad, but it is what it is, as they always say. Right, so one glitch set up later, and we're going to go back into the domain and see what else we can explore. This time you'll notice I've got a bit of a better team for exploration. So Chaska, Anshilonin, Farina, it's just like you can't go wrong with those three, just because of the incredible mobility. And here's a bit of an extra view here from Kokomi just flying all over again. Okay, so our mission is going to be to explore this little windmill area. Look at just the, like, blades on the windmills here. It's just fascinating. I don't know if it's in Mondstadt or not, but it's just, I was just like memorized by it. But in any case, these windmills are completely useless and non-functional. You don't have like the proper stairs going up, and even the place that we're standing here you can see is a bit dodgy in terms of the textures and stuff. So I don't know if it's a unique kind of windmill that they're experimenting on, but the other thing that you'll notice with the windmill is that the house near it looked like a leeway type of house. I think it's a leeway type of house. It gives me that vibe, or that aesthetic at least. And the thing about this map is that that house that you saw is literally all over, just like a day where Shilun was right now. And also upcoming here with Kokomi, that house is for some reason plastered all over the place, but the devs kind of thought, oh yeah, this is my little thumbnail moment of Kokomi. So if you ever wonder how I do my thumbnails and stuff, it's just for things like that. In any case, there is the, what do you call it, leeway house, and you kind of get tired of them because they're scattered all over the map. It's kind of crazy how when you're at the bottom there, you don't notice all these details, you just notice there is a house, there is a something. But you never really always focus on it. I wonder how many players actually think of the environment, because for me it's always like just crazy to see how the devs kind of put together and combobulated all these things. But in any case, a little quick shalonen up, and then we're here at the house with Kokomi, the exact same house. Luckily for us, we can go inside the house at least a little bit. There's nothing really crazy there, it's just little model collisions and so on. So at least we don't have some sort of random message that tells us, hey, how did you get here? In fact, I actually broke out of bounds on one of the Meliastro Wonderland maps, and one of the devs, actually, or the Meliastro creators, actually said, how the hell did you get here? So that was kind of funny to see it. But in any case, I'm just going to slow down the video footage for a bit, because this is a part that I really liked. So this little quasi village actually has a bit of reflection. So maybe my memory is pretty bad. I'll go and check this after this video, but I don't think we've seen a lot of these type of reflections in Genshin, and it's kind of cool how you can see Kokomi's reflection in the windows. I don't think that's normally a feature with Mondstadt. Normally, I don't know, I can't remember. I don't remember everything and all the details in the game, but regardless. So this village was pretty cool, although once you once again get up close, you realize that just like my teapot creations, it's just a giant mess. Everything is meshed in between the boulders and the rocks, and you have something that is just out of a horror or a movie show, but from afar it looks pretty cool. And poor little Kokomi here has to climb up all this way just to get into her house, which is kind of crazy. I'm obviously joking around, but yeah. So I do find it kind of interesting that in a domain, like an artifact domain like this, why can't the devs, just to give us a bit of extra content, open up a map like this and make it more explorable, or just have some sort of countryside type of view? I don't know. I just feel like sometimes they put in effort, I'm going to use that word lightly in air quotes, and then you just have all these cool moments and picturesque scenery, and all of it just goes to waste, which is pretty sad. So yeah, that's one of the things that I thought about when I was standing here with Kokomi, quite literally in the middle of nowhere, where I don't think most players would be. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, there's actually a small little boat down there somewhere. There we go. I went there with Farina. There's literally nothing to see on that boat. And then obviously that other big island thingamabob in the background, you can't actually reach it. And this is the one thing that I noticed in Genshin. Unfortunately, the map's boundaries are very tight, so we couldn't even get to whatever area is up there. Maybe in the future I'll try a bit of a different glitch to see how far we can extend it, but unfortunately there is just a limit to this wonderful place that we just couldn't reach. It's also interesting how you notice some of the fog effects and the lighting effects that can actually give you a beautiful scenery, but also how they obscure some details. Oh, and this was some really interesting thing here in Genshin. So you'll notice from the front you can't see these little spikes, but actually they're kind of a Kokomi trap. So I was like really surprised. I never knew that this was the real secret to catching Kokomi and so on. But in any case, so I always find this to be very odd. You can see I'm just like trying different things because my little Kokomi is stuck, but eventually she gets unstuck. So this is the most bizarre out of bounds collision thing that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of like warped and weird textures, so that definitely goes in my top 3 of just bizarre things. But in any case, okay, some more leeway houses, because why not? We we kind of get it. It's more leeway than Mondstadt. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot earlier with when I still had the Mavuika team, and I wanted to show this more towards the end of the video. There were a couple of random out-of-bounds textures that the game added in here. I've got no idea what the purpose of this is, what the devs were even thinking about it, but it's kind of odd just to leave random artifacts like this in the middle of nowhere and not clean it up. And I think, conspiracy theory, if the devs actually cleaned up all of the maps, you probably would lose a gigabyte. I don't know, I might be wrong about that, but at least they could save on a bit of storage. I might be wrong. But in any case, this is just how the rest of the map looks. So we're kind of like now going really, really far out of bounds, seeing the underside. There's really nothing much to see there. Okay, so let's start wrapping everything up, and we'll let Farina take the stage very, very soon. So here's Kokomi just climbing and exploring some houses that we haven't seen before in the first part of this video. Once again, he's staring at Kokomi through the window. Kind of a weird reflection effect where it almost looks like the lines from the character are drawn onto the inside of the foot and of the frame. I don't know. I'm not a video game designer, so I've got no idea what that's all about. Okay, here we're gonna go with Farina. Literally, her ability to explore on water infinitely is so OP, and thank you very much, Genshin, this, because you allow me infinite out-of-bounds exploration with Farina, so that's kind of like really nice of them. But okay, we're gonna now disconnect. So this is the part where ordinarily the game would kick you out, and you can see kind of fell there, but underneath the map you just have another layer, and then that just shows you the geometry of the map. And of course, the moment we reconnect, as you can see, we're just teleported back. So interestingly, and a lot of people don't know this, if you get to a death barrier and you reconnect, the very fact that you just touched it and then went back onto a, let's say, normal piece of playable area, just a small touch, even if the internet's disconnected, means that the moment it reconnects, it sends the packets, and then the game is just going to register you having been out of bounds, and then it's going to end it. But yeah, alright guys, hopefully you enjoyed this little bit of an out of bounds video, my little beautiful Kokomi here and the sunset and so on. And if you've got any ideas for certain out of bounds content, let me know. I've got a couple of cool things coming. And then yeah, take care, and thank you so much for watching until this point. Keep well.